Welcome to Fireworks Lesson 1. Let's go ahead and get right to it. Here I am at this week's agenda, and let's start by previewing what the lesson is going to look like when we're finished. There's two files we're going to work on. First we're going to work on the pumpkin girl. We'll start with a full-blown picture, and we'll learn some different effects and end up feathering her. And then we'll work on a butterfly sunflower picture, where we'll be introduced to some other tools that will allow us to duplicate the butterfly, duplicate some sunflowers, add in some stars to the picture. So let's get right to it. First of all, you're going to have the FWMX project folder, which hopefully you've already copied from the NetApps drive into your H drive. Taking a look at this folder, you'll see there's 7 lessons that we'll do most of them, or variations on them. The first one is bitmaps, the second one is vectors, layers, and so on. And we'll be talking more about bitmaps and vectors in the next couple days as we read through our chapter 2. Looking inside the lesson 1 folder, you'll see the 2 starter files, the flower and the pumpkin girl. And notice both of these files are PNG files, which we'll talk about more later. I'm going to go ahead and open up the pumpkin girl. Automatically opens in Fireworks. You'll notice right away that Fireworks has a very similar look to it as Dreamweaver. My answer panel, as usual, is pretty worthless to me, so I'm going to close it down. But I am going to open up my layers. Now, the first lesson is focusing on bitmap. So if you look at your tool section, you'll notice it's broken up into several different areas. You have your select area, where you have your pointer tool, your sub-select tool, which you'll see more about in the next lesson, your scale tool. Notice some of these tools have tiny little drop-down arrows in the lower right corner. When you click that, that means there's more tools underneath it that you can select if you need to. This first couple files, we're going to focus just on this area of the toolbar, the bitmap area. And then in lesson 2, we'll be working with the vectors. So looking at your bitmap, the Marquee Tool comes in 2 flavors, a rectangular one and an oval one. And the Marquee Tool allows you to select an area of a bitmap. So, for example, I can just draw a big area around here. Now that's selected, I could go up and cut that out, copy it, paste it into another picture, those types of things. One thing strange about this that you have to get used to as you use Marquee Tool, when you select a certain area of the picture, if you want to deselect it, it's difficult. Notice when I click on this black arrow and I come over and I click here, it just ignores me. You have to go up to select and go deselect, or Control D for your shortcut, and that will get rid of it once you've placed the Marquee Tool somewhere. Now in the book, the first thing they draw your attention to is how you can select multiple areas and join them. For example, if I select part of her head, and then if using your Control key, notice what happens when you press that. The black arrow, there's little scissors, which means I could then grab that and cut it out. And I'm going to Control Z and put that back. So the Control key allows you to cut a selected area out. The Alt key, if you can see that little thing, I'll put it down here by the pumpkin, that's got a little minus sign. When you hold down the Alt key, if I draw another selection and let go, it takes away the part where it overlapped, subtracts that. And then the Shift key is the opposite of the Alt key. The Shift key will add 2 sections together. So if I wanted to combine this section with this section, now they're both selected. Kind of a weird shape. I'm going to go to Select, Deselect, get back to that. The lasso tool we'll be using in the next picture, in the sunflower picture. The eraser tool is pretty self-explanatory. You just select it and you can erase any part of the bitmap. One thing to keep in mind is the eraser tool only works on bitmaps. So later when we start working with vectors and you try to erase it, it will just ignore you. And of course you can control the size of your eraser down here, make it bigger or smaller, and the shape of the eraser, whether it's a square or a circle, and then the edge of it. And I'm going to go ahead and Control Z this. Okay, and that's enough for now. Let's pause before we move on.